Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And I got this understanding that the ruler of the hour, I don't know who is the ruler of the night, but the ruler of the hour is the sun. So this is the sun. Thanks astrology.com.tr planetary hours. And I want to see the current planets. As usual, as you can see, the ruler of the hour is the sun. I would not be surprised if we are amidst the eclipse. Yes, here also sun hour. And the moon is right about to eclipse. Okay, it's 26 degrees past Jupiter. I ate a lot yesterday. The moon was definitely on Jupiter. Um, and applying to the sun at 29 degrees, which applies to square Pluto. Now, some of you who follow me on Twitter, I'm Tali Shire on Twitter, may have noticed that every once in a while I would have a post um, that doesn't seem so related and you don't know like what brought this. Usually I wake up with these. And right now, before the eclipse, I woke up and the sun ruling the hour. For me, Natalie, it was my sixth house, but this here is ruling the eighth, with Lilith there, which I believe is not too accidental. So, Mercury on my sun. Mercury is the planet that rules relationships for me. It rules the seventh and the fourth. Yeah. A Mars on my moon, and my moon is in the fifth, in Cancer. And Mars is, I see, sextile in this Mercury. It's already in its shade period. Venus on Aldebaran. Okay, Venus um, separating from a square to Saturn. Saturn is on Fomalhaut. So maybe the wisdom of the sage. Pluto, 0 degrees Aquarius, sextiling 26 degrees Neptune in Pisces, Chiron in Aries. Uh, Maybe the moon is on Aries. Aries in Aries. Uranus 17 degrees Taurus, and the nodes on 4 degrees Taurus and Scorpio with Ketu in Scorpio. So the node, okay. So this eclipse is happening, just to let you know. Okay. Rao is on my Venus. Mars is on my moon, which is in the fifth. Mercury, that rules relationships for me, is on my sun. Venus on Aldebaran, which is lovely, in my fourth house. Chiron, I believe, is on my series. The moon is just separate. The Neptune is separating from Neptune. The moon is currently on my Mercury, which is the ruler of the seventh and the fourth. And what I woke up with. So, I woke up with things naturally to do with relationships. And it's not news, but it apparently the ruler of the sun. It's a new moon. With the solar eclipse, almost total solar eclipse. And of all things, I was thinking about relationships, but not from the wisdom of Esther Perel specifically, more for power in relationships. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a Me Too veteran. And then as I went to treat that, I happened to have two psychologists. The first didn't get what is non-dual experiences. He was all trying to get me to talk about my experiences. When I did, he looked at me like a ghost. So with this, for the second, I came with my crystals and that and so on. So, make a long story short, one day I was thinking that I'm going to have a session with myself and I'm going to see what happens if I fantasize over him, because And you'll see why I'm getting to that much detail. Because that's what you do in therapy. You try to see what you project onto someone and check the references. Lo and behold, that person was having astral sex with me, and I guess I opened that channel to receive that when I did that. But that was not the most surprising thing that happened on the astral. I've had incidents where I talked about shape shifting, certain figures that I didn't know at all initiated for me. As long as I'm happy, I'm happy. And why am I saying this? Well, being in those situations with my psychologist, and being in situation where I got initiated and then I didn't know who the person is, and then you can't really tell if it was still my therapist trying to get at me from another shape or not, because my therapist became violent later. So, I came for him to grow from violent relationship. Unfortunately, he became violent, not because he was initiating astral sex with me, but because he unfortunately was violent. So, um, those situations, yeah, if I take a look at my psychologist, yeah, he was a married man. Yeah. Now, I didn't intend to do anything, you know. I was coming to treat my relationships. And so that I read about, I remembered, I know the teaching of Esther Perel. Okay, I will take it to my future relationship, and not when he was violent, of course, and he will take it to his relationships, and what can you do? And maybe he's non-monogamous. Um, those kind of things are also why I think the type of non-monogamy where you have a don't ask, don't tell, they don't really work. So for whoever needs to hear this, if you are, I don't know if you are single, if you are in a relationship, maybe you are the spouse. I don't know. Okay, think to your single days. Man or woman doesn't matter. Women, married women can do things. Married women in power are just like married men in power. No difference, but and not sometimes even the genitalia is the same. Um, but the thing is, think to the days that you were single, or maybe you're single now, and how many checks you had to perform to know if the person you are dating, let's say you were dating, okay, is single, is not married. I had a case once when somebody flirted with me a bit, and I had a crush on him. And he flirted with me a bit. Then I saw he's not adding me to the friend list. I said, no, this is not okay. We knew each other from outside, so and then I checked and I saw he has a girlfriend, very, very beautiful girlfriend. And I said, okay, I could, that's not attainable. Um, but it bothered me that it triggered me that he flirted with me. It reminded me some other situation I had online that was breaking my sexual boundaries. And then I had a trigger, I had flashbacks and so on and so on. I found out that he was on a website presenting himself as single and getting the most, like he got the prize of being most active of something like that. Um, so I was very surprised. I was like, okay, if you're non-monogamous, be non-monogamous. Apparently, being non-monogamous on and publicly is not like that in most places. In Netherlands, no problem. United States, I don't know. Israel, people still is still traditional. While we have a lot of LGBTQ, alternative kink communities, non-monogamy communities, it's still there's a problem, and then people sometimes don't out themselves. Uh, but then again, it's a problem. The situation is intricate. Um, so I was thinking, and this is also later would be how I got to know about Esther Perel. Um, why people cheat. I was in the situation of the person they tried to flirt with. Um, and Esther Perel has her own wisdom and teaching about that. From an astrological point of view, I talked about my Venus with the outer planet and Venus with Uranus. So Pluto is the planet of power, but Pluto, what you have to understand about Pluto. Pluto is the Pluto is accumulation of power, but it's also what is the greatest power we have on Earth is to have land. If you have land, then you have minerals in the land, and you have this in the land, and that in the land. You have land. Um, why? Because it's the thing you base your survival on. If you have land that you don't have to pay anyone for, then you are an independent person. Then you need to treat that with respect. Okay, be a kind human being wherever that's allowed. And so um, Pluto doesn't keep secrets. People think Pluto. If you want to use Pluto like magically, then if you want to hoard something, if you want to keep secret something, Pluto doesn't keep secrets. Okay, Pluto may be where your secrets are, but what he does is mainly to expose them. I have Pluto opposing my Venus natally, which is now basically just a degree away from the Keto from Keto. Yes, Keto is still gonna be within the 3 degrees range to my Pluto, and that means he opposes my Mercury too. My Mercury is applying to oppose him. Venus is separating from the opposition. 0 degree Scorpio, which I understood a lot about this term. And so it's Mars. Mars is very heavily Plutonian. And I remember, I think it was around 2006, 2007, I was living a life where everything I did was secretive. Then I got into astrology. And it's not that I did bad things secretly, it's just that I had the need to do things secretly. And I realized that I have had enough of accumulating things inside me. And I had this breakdown. I decided no more secrets. Now, what is interesting? Um, I don't have prominent 12th house placements. Okay, but maybe because this Pluto is opposing my 7th and opposing my Venus, um, I have these. I have been in situations where people, for various reasons, wanted to keep their interest of me secret. And the best example is with my psychologist, because Pluto is also psychology. Yeah. What is the profession of psychology? It's a profession of psychology. Yeah, you have the secrecy of the room that you're supposed to keep. It's never kept. That's the nature of Pluto. But what you're supposed to do is to look at the hidden motives in the room, okay, both the therapist and the patient. Psychoanalyze, bring in, dredge up the secrets. This is what psychology do. It's a Plutonian. It's exposing those secrets and having radical acceptance of things. And if I think about, so first of all, is something happening? Okay, I decided I don't date because I want to treat my relationship, my attachment pattern to be more, because it's moon related, right? And things happen with whom? With a psychologist. Okay, perhaps something was perfected. I haven't seen that. I say now that this eclipse is very much relationship, 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 relationship. You know, it's very prominent, and I'm like, what am I to do with that? I don't know if I don't feel ready for a relationship so much. It's not that I don't want to have a happy, healthy, loving relationship. It's just I don't know how to do it. Um, like I said, and when I tried to go to a psychologist, then yeah, that happened. And unfortunately, he was later violent. So trying to abuse his power. So power was the issue, and now Pluto is here again. But the thing is that Pluto does not keep a secret. It's not, you cannot, you have to be healthy. You have to speak up to be healthy. Um, and so people tend to think that they can keep a secret with Pluto. Okay, and and this is how you get into these power dynamics when somebody holds something secret. Like if I came to treat childhood trauma, okay, related also to sexuality. And what happens with childhood trauma? There is the thing of hiding or being afraid to speak, okay? And in that element, okay, then you can say, oh, it got reignited in the relationship with the psychotherapist. Okay, I can't refute this paradigm. You look at it in that way. But if that is what I came to heal, I will no longer keep a secret. Yeah. And so there was the expectation that was not even discussed with me, that I will keep a secret that I had some astral this and that with that person. When I thought that this was somehow contributing to my well-being, and I will find a partner like, which of course, that manifestation I absolutely cancelled. Um, then I thought um, this somehow is good for me. Said okay, I don't date anyone, and so was the thing that happened with psychologist. Okay, fine. Then I'll see how am I in these connections. But he had expectation that I will somehow keep it a secret. All the while I was going to, if he had king fantasy, I was going to king fantasy, the king community to learn about king. I was going to non-monogamy communities and thinking, oh, the study case where you have a romantic transference. Romantic transference is not astral sex. At that time, I didn't even know he had astral sex. I just know I feel his energy and so on. Let's call it energy. It was actually a healer who would sleep with his patient that told me that this is astral sex. And then after the conversation with me, he was working with the deity Isis, and he realized that both conversation with me and the deity Isis told him that not to do that, and he stopped doing that. Okay, so it's not litigated, not nothing. It's just, and he himself was trained by someone who was sleeping with him. Okay, so those things are very complicated. Maybe my psychologist was sleeping with his, the person who trained. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Um, but the point is that I did not see it as a secret. I'm like, if this is healthy, then I should be able to speak about it. This is not, I cannot, it's not. Um, and so when I think about the larger case, okay, the largest case of this situation, then Pluto deals with power and supposed secrecy, but Pluto is a compost. Okay, you bring something to Pluto, it's like a black hole that emits light. And now, as Pluto is in Aquarius, we had a beautiful discovery, scientific, that is of how gravity becomes light. Okay, and then black holes, as the study case of that, if I'm not mistaken. So more support to the hypothesis that black holes emit light. And this I found exciting. So you can't really expect that if Pluto is in any way related, maybe it's going through your seventh house, your eighth house, your fifth house, your first house, going through aspect to the ruler of the relation, like mine, okay? Pluto is separating and will still go back to a tight aspect that squares the ruler of my relationships. She's going to be my perfected ruler of next year, which is only 6 May. Then what you're dealing with is not just power, it's exposure. Of course it is power, it's gravity. You gravitate with something. So this is Pluto. And now for those relationships that one person is single, the other person is not. If you are the single person, you know this. And if you're not a single person, think to your dating days. This is good for you to understand, because think of how much it took for you to find out that this person is not married. Okay, maybe you wanted to see them also on the weekdays. Maybe you wanted to see them also, and this is 3D dating, okay, not astral. You wanted to see them also on weekends. Maybe you wanted to see their parents. Okay, and you're like, why are you dating, 3 dates with this person? You want to see that they're not married before you fall in love, right? And you understand that after something happened, it's most difficult to sever ties. Okay, because when you are into someone, it's not like, okay, I'm into someone, oh, I discovered that they're this, they're that. Maybe you separate from them, but you still need to recover yourself. Here, for me, it was very difficult to say, oh, I'm going to leave both my therapy, which I was highly dependent on, um, and the person that I was with, when I discovered, oh, the ring. Like the ring was there, but I never paid attention to it until that happened. And so you try to do what you can do best, right? But mostly if you are the single person in this situation, because usually affairs happen between married couples. Okay, if it's not partner switching, like like people who go to switching couples. I don't know how to say that. Um, yeah, but if it's not that, then it's usually what happens is two married people, and they have this emotional cheating usually first, and then something happened, which can happen. Okay, Esther Perel talks about it a lot. As a person who's heavily Plutonian, I don't know how to deal with it. I'm 38, I'm single. All of these things happen in all of my relationship placements. And like, I do not have a wisdom, okay? I haven't sorted this out because I'm also heavily Uranian. And Uranus is the planet of the extravagant, unusual, and so on and so forth. Well, but still with Pluto, because this is square in Pluto here. Um, and although Uranus, yeah, Mars is applying to sextile both Mercury and Uranus as well, so it's good wisdom. And so, if you are the single person, you are usually, not always, usually the disempowered member in the situation. Both people expect you to keep secret something that usually not you initiated. Okay, when I asked my psychologist when did he found out that he is infatuated and so on, he says from the beginning, from the first time we met. Okay, I came to treat sexual trauma. He's speaking about sexuality. Then I guess something, this happens. We're human beings. And I was very surprised. Okay, it's not like he fell in love immediately, but he noticed pain and wanted to know me more than just a page. His words. Um, and so you can see that it was not counter-transference because I was coming to treat my issues. I was not heading to an affair. Um, and so usually, not always, it is the person who is married that initiates. And so the person who is single is disempowered in this situation. And this is why, Pluto is with the secretive. It exposes stuff. So if somebody cheats at it, it exposes them. And again, I don't take it in the blame shame context, right? I don't blame my psychologist for having astral sex with me, not at all. Okay, we had affair. Later he was violent. This is another problem, completely other problem, and I discuss it in that range. I'm also aware that I was not dating anyone because I came to treat my attachment trauma. Okay, in this case, where the person I came to for treatment is also attracted to me, and then something happens, and I'm responsive to that. So I had countertransference. Then in this case, I understand what in my life contributed to the fact that this happened there. It couldn't happen anywhere else. I was not dating. I came to treat something to do with sexuality, okay? Healing from sexual abuse or whatnot. So, as you can see, and the stories range from the case of, God forbid, non-consensual sex, like the Medusa Gorgon, to situations like, me and my therapist, to situations that a person who is single and obviously is stealing the path, okay? Or maybe they don't even know that they want relationships. Maybe that's the case. Um, is met with something, and so people usually blame the third party. Sometimes, I'm not saying sometimes that can be the case, but usually, not only it is not the case, but there usually is a difference in power, and this can also happen when it is a woman. If a woman is higher up the hierarchy, she's not going to behave different than a man. It depends on the person, okay? If she's the type of person who can carry her power in this way, great, but we are human beings. And unfortunately, those behaviors are also prevalent amongst human beings. And the expectation that that would be secret is not going to be borne out. As you can see, I'm very, like, I've been speaking about this a lot. Um, and, and this is how, when people say something just happened, it looks like, how can something just happen? Well, if you take into account the astral world, and as a person, I'm speaking who had certain astral experience with people that I don't know who it was. Okay, but if I was happy with it, then it's okay. Um, then you have to take into account that if you are the single person, just to have an affair is disempowered position. Okay, and it can, like I said, it can happen. But this is where you have to find your power. And this is also, you know, in addition to Esther Perel is speaking more about the type of affairs that married couples have with married couples. But if you take what is the type of affairs that non-married couples have, that married couples have with non-married or with single people, a big section of the pie is Me Too cases. Not all of them, okay? Not all of them. I was even joking with my psychologist. If I would say something, I would say Me Too, and I would joke, and not in a Me Too kind of way, because it was after the Me Too. But unfortunately, he eventually was violent. So I was not correct in my prediction that I can have astral sex or affair with my psychologist, and that would support my experience in being in a relationship that is happy and healthy. It was not the case. But then, when you have infatuation, then you try to make everything healthy, right? You're willing to reconsider your standard if something already happened. Um, that's the intricacy of the topic. And for whoever needs to hear this, first of all, if you're single, then no. Um, those type of situations are disempowering to you, and then it's about meeting your needs in a healthy way somehow. I don't have an answer for that. But just understand that this is when a person who's non-married hitting on a single person, there is a problem with power. Okay, there's a problem with power, and no, you are not the oppressive, the abusive person here. Okay, you're not a homebreaker. Okay, unless you downright initiated this, and this was not where you are like in a student guru relationship where there are erotic transferences and that happen. Like, not everything is my psychologist. There are some people who do have infatuation with yeah, with their significant with their guru or something like that, or healer. And it's also why I don't take one-on-one patients usually. If it's like a process, then I don't do it. Like, don't let me deal with transferences. It's not somebody said, not my circus, not my monkey, something like that. um, so that is as per the Pluto. If you are the person who is the spouse in this case, you must understand, most cases where there are affairs, it's not that there was some a person, you know, some male bitch or some bitch, some Becky, you know. Even if you take the case of Monica Lewinsky, Monica Lewinsky was courted by Bill Clinton. She was courted by, she considered herself Me Too survivor, and I believe this is true, and I'm very happy that she says that. Okay, She's Me Too survivor. Okay? She's not Becky. Huh? And this you have to understand. There's power issue. Yes, sexuality is men and women are equally powerful sexually. Equally, when you're attracted to someone, then you're attracted to them. Okay, and if you happen to have a kink that you share, and if you happen to enjoy sexuality together, then you both have power over each other. Yeah, when my psychologist thought he was asking me, do you know how much power like my body or whatnot have over him? I'm sorry, we were sleeping together. If we didn't have power, like if it's willing consent that we both are equally powerful in terms of eroticism. If it's equal, if it doesn't matter what kink you celebrate, both people are attracted to each other. Um, so it's not that somebody's sexual power, somebody was a siren, you know, all that, um, and and in this case, it ranges. It can be the case that this is a Medusa Gorgon case, and you're calling her Becky, which unfortunately is true in a lot of cases. Okay, Me Too veterans and so on and so forth. Or it could be like me and my psychologist. And in that case, you need to understand you're not dealing with a Becky. I don't know if there is such thing as a Becky. Okay. Um, so if it's a healthy relationship that you have, then Esther Perel, that's the best. I've seen moon talismans, okay, like the Sphere and Sundry moon talisman. I know that you need to build up to work with the moon. I'm not expert on these cases, but definitely tend into your moon. Hey, Mars is on my moon. What is your emotional needs? I find out, when I had a fair even with my psychologist, I found out that my deepest emotional need was to be hugged for hours. But in a hug that kind of gives me something, not takes from me something. Okay, some people, and it's not blaming, some people need to be taken, and they have this need and desires to be taken. But I needed to be provided like emotional care. Cancer in the fifth house. So it's like these stories where you see a person going to a sex worker, and then what they do, she's hugging him, and she looks at the watch. But that's the kind of funny comedy like that. Sometimes these things are not what they seem. And this is why Sterpel talks about emotional cheating a lot. Um, I don't know how can you like. For me as a person who's 38 years old, all of these things happening on my relationship, and I get cheated. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to deal with that because I do have Pluto. Like I do have the desire to bond. Um, but I also have Uranus. I also have a moon that is out of bounds. Uranus in conjuncting both my luminaries. Okay, this is Moon Sun. Um, Still a Mercury day, but this night, I don't know the night ruler. What is the night ruler of Wednesday? Is it Mars? Maybe? I don't know. Um, so this is what I get here. I get here that those um, don't ask, don't tell in non-monogamy is, I understand it from the position of the spouses. I don't think it is working. I don't think it is fair for the people who are in this case because you have no way to find out if it is consensual. Okay, until this day, I don't know if my psychologist was just a non-monogamer or was he cheating. Okay, eventually he was violent, so it doesn't matter. But you have no way to find out. No way to find out. If you take the astral world into account, then you might not even know who it was. Um, and if it was a good experience, then you say, oh, okay, I can say what I manifest from there, what I don't want to manifest from there. But if it was not a good experience, you don't know. Like you have to set your boundaries. And I talked about when I talked about my previous video about non-protection. non-specific boundary setting, non-specific, taking your energy back, then this for a good reason. Because you don't know who, you don't know what. You might get clues, but it may be that somebody is shape-shifting. Okay, like in my case, you understand how I may think that if something like this happened to me, or maybe it's my psychologist still trying to get attention, um, or whatnot. And of course, if after he was violent to me, then of course it's not like if I identify anything about his energy, it's like no. So um, because of these issues that are so intricate, um, I don't know. If I had to like date someone, I don't know. Like all these things are so complicated. All of them happening in my relationship house. So maybe you expected, it's called the, wisdom. What did I call this episode? So thank you for the like. Maybe you expected some, wisdom. What I have to say is to expose the intricacy, to expose what is actually happening in this. And I'm not saying that there are not cases where, you're somebody, two people are married and monogamous and it's known to everybody, and then somebody approaches and tries their luck, whether a man or what. Like, yes, I know that there are all kinds of cases. Um, but when it's Pluto being involved, okay, and it's not a person who's higher up the rank, then usually we're talking about the ranges from a Me Too case or even of a Medusa Gorgon case to situations like me and my psychologist where I didn't expect him to be there. Then after he was there, and we already had something in the astral field, and then to separate, and then when you have something good, you try to make to think, yeah, how can I prolong this, right? In a way that is still healthy. So you trick your mind in a way. And eventually, no. Okay, I'm not the exemption to the rule that sleeping with your patient is bad. Yeah, and that is not something I'm happy to say, because in the part where I did enjoy it, then I did enjoy it. But not only did that, that was the only road to will and consent. However weird is that? And if it's something like the Medusa Gorgon case, then or something like somebody experienced this experience of the Medusa Gorgon type, and that can be like they are having a situation where they're having will and consent. Okay, so like I said, you're not dealing with the Becky, and as a person who's everything around the relationship parts being eclipsed, which is a high, makes it very highly prominent that I might meet someone. This is my baggage. If somebody, hits on me, then I will have to turn them to this. This is my baggage. I don't know how to resolve this. Okay, I can listen to a therapist. What I did when I was with my psychologist. Um, I know they would have to know about energy, but also be in a community where energy is talked about and astrophysics is talked about. Um, Pluto here, for me in the 12th, but here it is Pluto in the second. Yes, second. With the ruler of the second and the third. And Sun ruling in this chart the eighth house. So, eighth house, generational, generational stuff here, 222, which is considered message from deceased people. Um, I don't have, you know, my wisdom is that I don't have a wisdom on how to sort these things out, but a part of it is to put it in the air. Okay. Um, Majority of the cases, there's no such thing as Becky. There was a disempowerment issue there. Um, Even if it was a spiritual wisdom, or there was, like people say, a happy accident. Okay, this happens. But in the best of cases, it was a happy accident. But still, when people try to keep a secret, even if the secret is good, you're like, then things Pluto does not keep secrets. Not the hoarder of Pluto is not the hoarder of secrets. Pluto is not the hoarder of secrets. Okay, it's the composting of secrets, and that's something that you need to understand. Pluto is the composting of secrets. It's important to be aligned with the truth. It's important to keep options open. It's important, like I say, I'm not going to blame anybody. And even if it's not for nothing that I separate, my psychologist being violent to the willing consensual, however, willing consensual. Okay, it's not like willing consensual like we talked about it, but I don't consider that a sexual offense. Was something that I was happy with and enjoyed, um, even if I wouldn't do it today. So this separation is very important as I'm decomposing those and unraveling those things, because it's important to be authentic, and Pluto is also authenticity. And there are things you can talk about, there are things you cannot talk about. So it's better to talk about what you can concretely say and not about hypotheses or what was revealed to you or what was this or what was that. Um, because there are shapeshifters. Okay, there are shapeshifters. Astral world is not as tangible, but this is why it's so important to set your boundaries. And it's not a blame thing, it's not to take responsibility of it, nada, nada. Just know that you have tools, because it's called psychic attack. You have tools. If something like that happens to you in the spiritual, you will have to find your own tools. Some people envision a blue light. Okay, and blue is also the color of Tenebalgadi, also the color dark blue of Saturn. So some people it's the color of truth. Okay, the third, no, yeah, the throat chakra, okay, setting boundaries. Sometimes it's envisioning blue light, and in these experiences stop. I know people that helps them. Working with garlic, I know people that helps them. Being in the body, okay, feeling your body, okay, touching. Some people that helps them. Um, Doing something physical like walking. I was walking in water today. It's very Mars and Cancer activity. Okay, I was walking in water. Um, that maybe helps you know that no one has the power over you. Okay, from Mark Bayersky, maybe that helps you to assert yourself so that you can have a better experience in the life. We also need to normalize the discourse about people having these experiences, these non-dual experiences, so that people can receive validation, know that they are not, you know that you are not alone with this. Okay, something like that happened to you. Okay, whether it was willingly consensual or not, you're not alone with this. This weird thing that happens to you, it has a name. It's called astral sex, or in the case of that it's not desired, it's called a psychic attack. A spiritual attack. It's absolutely your right to set your boundaries wherever. Um, and it's important that you're not alone with this. If something happened and you found yourself in a situation where something happened with a person who's not available, okay, you're not alone with this. This happens to many people. In 3D, it's sometimes not easy to find out if a person is single. Um, and you're not a Becky, and nobody has the right to treat you and disempower you, even if it is the spouse. With all the drama, I'm not assuming that I know how the other people who are maybe feeling in this situation. But no one has the power over you. Nobody has the right to treat you with disrespect. Even if you're going through what we call a Plutonian obsession. This is usually very tied to trauma and secrets. Here, the sun ruling the 8th house. A sun being eclipsed. A trauma is being eclipsed today for some people. A trauma can be eclipsed. It's not something, people talk about this eclipses, that they can be good things as well. If I listen to Lada Duncheva, then eclipses were surrounding her husband's previous divorce and marrying her, if I'm not mistaken, then her first child. Okay, eclipse on your luminary. those things can happen. Okay? You can bring new life. These things happen, huh? Around an eclipse. You can get pregnant. You can get married in a happy way. And so I ask my relationship trauma to be eclipsed, to be able to have healthy relationships. Those patterns, attachment pattern, I went to psychologists, I went here, I went there, trying to resolve things then for that to be eclipsed. This eclipse also happens around Aries in Aries, and Aries is the misrepresented voice that I guess I'm bringing now to the table. And this is the voice of the people that you consider that they are, the Becky in the situation. No. First of all, we're not Becky. We had a full, if it was consensual, we had a full, fulfilling sexual experience. We no need to worry about the sex life. Here we received as well, if it was willingly consensual. But then, if it was not, then this is not a Becky, darling. Take your לקחת victim blaming שלך and someone you never come here ever. Okay, you take your victim blaming and never ever come here. It's a sketch. It's an Israeli sketch. It's basically about the Russian. It's no wonder because for me, Aries is the second house in supermarkets, and the skit is about. We had the Russian people coming, and so they had funny accents, and they were working in the supermarket. So somebody asked, "You have a ticket of the club?" Okay, then he said, "You take your ticket of the club and never come here again." Okay, so this is when I talk about victim, which is interesting. I never delineated that before. To delineate humor is lovely. It's like, you take your victim blaming and never ever come here. And it's no wonder I have this supermarket. I was speaking, I don't remember if I was speaking to myself or I was recording because I speak to myself as well. This is how you don't get to just press record and be able to speak when you don't speak to yourself. It's something you build up. Okay. And then this is the pro of it, I can speak up, but then the con is if you ask me to make a presentation, I'm just speaking. I'm just opening my mouth and I'm speaking. I don't know how to do a presentation. Okay, no, but it's slowing me down. Anyway, so second house, the supermarkets, and I'm speaking in favor of the grocery store. And maybe this is something that you need to keep in mind. Okay, when I was in the case with my psychologist, then the way I saw it, before he was violent, okay, before he was violent, I was not looking at it from the stupid things he said. Now we are not safe in the world. They don't know what energy means in psychiatrist. Okay, because I'm going to have a breakdown because he was psychically attacking me and I didn't know what is psychic attack. But anyway, now I'm sort of an activist helping in validating people's non-dual experiences and validating people who need to be treated differently if they're dealing with mental crisis. So that'll be something good for humanity came out of it. But the thing is that I was saying that, okay, I manifested healing and like a therapy, and then I manifested healthy love. And then I joked about, the person was... and I was thinking, okay, I'm seeing what do I want here. I didn't look at it like I'm going to marry my psychotherapist. The minute I realized, okay, there is a ring here, it is genuinely a ring. It's not like protection, like when you go traveling. I actually asked if you go traveling and you put the ring on so nobody bugs you. And he said, no, no, no. And he was honest. He said it's a ring, like it's not like that. He was surprised by my question. I said, well, if I was working in your profession, I would put a ring so nobody messes with me. But that's okay. So I would say if I liked something, then I would manifest that in my relationship that I will have after therapy with someone who is available. Not available, single. And or not single, but in a relationship with me. Huh? That I want, okay, so I want this, and I want that and that, and if this I don't like, then this I don't like, then this I don't want. And I would treat it like the Abraham Hicks thingy. Okay? And this is what I call the grocery store list. I'm very much advocating of the grocery store. Let's say you had a happy accident. Okay, I'm just still talking will and consent, and you find out that person is, if that is indeed who their energy says it is, the person is very happily married. It's just not happily married to you. No, these things happen. Then, of course, your partner being happily married to somebody else, okay, unless this is what you manifest for some reasons, cognitively, this is not on the grocery list. This is what Abraham Hicks calls contrast. Okay, him being married to somebody else is contrast. Contrast. Yeah, he needs to be married to me. Okay, but also that it's a healthy relationship. That it's a happy relationship. It's a good relationship. Okay, I ask for the monogamy type, the commitment type that genuinely meets uh, that genuinely meets my needs, and for the other person to also be in this situation too with me, because if you already found someone, then you want them to be the one. It's contrast if they are not the one, huh? So this is how I was treating that. And perhaps if you are the person in the situation, even maybe you are the spouse, okay, what they have to say to you, first of all, yes, tend to your moon if this is astrology, but this is not only astrology. Okay, it's eclipse, but it's life, it's human life, right? Astrology is human life. And what I have to say to you, what I have to say to you is, take a good look at your grocery list. Is a cheating husband in your grocery list? Is a cheating wife in your grocery list? No, this is contrast. Manifest. Not today. Okay? For me, this eclipse is on all of my relationship houses. But for you, yeah, manifest. Not today. Maybe the moon is growing a bit, but not in around 5th May, because we also have eclipse there, so wait later. Next cycle. Manifest what you do want, and understand that the cheated husband is X. It's contrast. Not interested. What do you want in a relationship? What needs do you have that emotional that need to be met? It's you meeting your needs. Forget about, and I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care how many years you've been married. I don't care. Okay, you deserve to have your emotional needs met. Okay, and manifest that. How does cheating happen astrologically? Uranus transits are the most susceptible to the type of cheating that brings a person on a new track in their lives. That and as I explained it in my other videos, okay, from Uranus' perspective, it's an outer planet. It is here to make you like a Kundalini rise, and then you do what you actually came here to do. Yeah, maybe it's a creative project that you have, a podcast that you have, whatnot, all of these things. You go out there and do it. Maybe you're working in a humdrum corporate job, or you're stuck in your life. Then Uranus comes in, lightning bolt. Now you have to do it. And if that involves any of your relationship planets, or if somebody triggers your relationship parts, call it relationship parts, with their Uranus, or the other way around, you're gonna see that is a big deal. That is a big deal. And this, from in a 3D perspective, Kundalini rise is very much associated with having sex, astrally or not, energy or not. Okay? Shit. Like, all I can hope is for me and my spouse to go through our Uranus in a way that we both meet our needs, and the affair is with each other. Okay? That the Kundalini rise is with each other, and is somehow harmonious. Though Natalie, I don't have Uranus harmonious, but to have this spike, so that we both can meet ourselves and celebrate ourselves inside the connection. I hope that for you too, because this is what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, you are not to blame, and if anybody cheated on you, you are not to blame. It's not like there was a need that you were not, and even the as Esther Perel teaching, it's not like even if there was a need that you were not answering, it's not your fault because if your partner didn't was not even aware that they have this need, how could he meet that with you? You say, but why did he meet it with somebody other than me? I don't know. This is a crazy world. It's a crazy world, and this is the good cases where it was will and consent. Um, then like the only thing I have to say is look to the nature of your desire. What do you desire? What are your emotional needs? What do you desire to do in life? Okay. I work with lavender a lot. And lavender is a Mercury herb which rules my seventh and fourth. Those things, while I can't take away the pain from you of having something unfortunate happen to you or experience that is difficult. Okay, even if it is the beginning of it's a crisis. I can't take that away. Um, and not it's not about denying this crisis. It's not about any of that. And at the end of the day, what I can say is that whether you are the single person or you are the spouse, that even the spouse that is cheating, okay, these things sometimes happen to people. Somebody meets certain things that you didn't know. They're not doing that on purpose. You're not doing that on purpose, and there it is. But those things need to be met. Don't deny your needs. Don't deny your passions. Um, manifest your not today. Manifest your desires. This is something that I have to say. If there is a need, if there's something that you've been denying yourself with your spouse, you will find a lover. Okay, and that's something that is just true. And sometimes it is non-monogamy. Sometimes it's like understanding. Okay, I answer this need, then there is a metamor that answer that need, and that's okay. Or both people have metamors. I don't know how to deal with that. Um, like I said, I'm highly Plutonian and highly Uranian, but the Pluto and the Uranus, they don't. Like I'm waiting for the Pluto and Uranus to trine, and then maybe I'll have a talisman of that that will tell me how can I sort my commitment. What is my commitment style, and how can I manifest what is right for me? So sometimes manifesting what is right for you is about knowing what is right for you. It's like how can I manifest something that is genuinely right for me, meeting my needs, so that I won't A cheat on my partner, right? And B, that I want, it's not just to want to get cheated on, but also that I won't um, go so much the non monogamous way that I ignore my Plutonian needs and then I don't meet my Plutonian needs, and then, you know, and then even if you don't get cheated on, then there is bitterness that comes in, and then nobody is to blame for that. So getting to the nature of your desires is not as intricate. It's not as it can be intricate. Maybe it's not as intricate. I don't know. Um, and so as you can see, this is a very it's still a Mercury day here, but it's not. It's night. We're heading towards a Jupiter day. I don't know the ruler of the night, but it was Saturn was the ruler of the ascendant when I started. Not applying to anything, or is it? Oh, the Saturn is sextiling this lunation. Really? Yeah, he's sextiling the Rahu and he's sextiling this lunation. Oh, it's very beautiful. So we have good structure. Here, ascendant on Pluto, applying to Pluto, but from Capricorn. It's in 28 degrees here. I don't know, the asteroids. Um, maybe I can, oh, well, go to people who did like, and Victor does a lot of it. He spoke about asteroid Diana. And Diana is about Diana. I don't know if this. I don't remember exactly. Watch Victor's video, but Diana is about um, queerness, being queer. Okay, it's relevant to me as well. Both a woman, also man, masculine, whatnot. So, um, and that can be something that lead to a lot of cheating. Okay, a lot of cheating. If somebody's personality is not being expressed, and then they find that this part of the personality is being expressed with someone else, then they feel almost disempowered. And this is also the spouse can feel disempowered because it's something that they didn't know, but it's not that the other person is doing that on purpose. Okay, it's just that you meet someone and then you know this part of your personality comes out, and that was never expressed before. These are all the things that can lead to those discrepancies in the linear patterns of relationship that perhaps for some people will be comfortable. But in non-monogamy, metamors are assets. And this is something, if you're non-monogamous, you need to remember, metamors are assets. I've known many cases, I've heard many cases of people who are the metamor, and they help the partner deal with relationship issues in their spousal connection or in their main connection. Um, so metamors are again, when something is willingly consensual and it comes from a healthy, centered place, then the genuinely is no problem. Okay, it's just that if you're a psychologist, this is probably not going to work. This is my wisdom, but that's the point. Um, so the people you consider Becky or can sometimes even be seen in a different light. They can sometimes be metamors, and they can sometimes help you in a situation. In many cases, there's also certain challenges that we haven't sorted out, and then there's something that tries to be with if it's younger person, there's someone who doesn't criticize you as much, or somebody that just accepts you. So that can also be the case. And then, of course, it's very difficult to meet that need after that with your spouse because you've cheated. So it's an intricate situation. All these things are important. Um, yeah, Saturn here in Pisces on Fumalaut, sextile in this eclipse. Um, Sun hour, no longer Sun hour. It's probably Mars hour. No, Venus hour, even better. So Venus hour. Venus on Aldebaran. Okay, in a T-square here with Saturn and Vertex. But and she sextiles Lilith. I love the sextile between Venus and Lilith. This is really the sextile of the metamor and the spouse. Okay, you can think about it that way. And now we have um, actually Lilith being in the seventh house. For me, it's a personal. If I'm going to be in a relationship, of course, it's going to be very Lilith in the sense that I'm very attuned to my to the intricacy of my desires, if that makes sense. And Venus here on Aldebaran. So Venus has been victorious in something. Um, and again, whether you are the single person or the spouse person, in this case, you are the lover. The lover, this is a good, anybody who meets now, although it's an eclipse, a good time for the lover and the spouse, the seventh house, fifth house relations, especially with Lilith in the seventh. It can be very erotic, but she does apply to square Mercury, which is communication, and this is something you definitely, I wouldn't start a relationship here, but what you need to understand is that the key in any case is, first of all, whatever happened, you are not to blame. Whether you was the person outside the connection, inside the connection, someone who thought they are a metamor and found out that they are being considered as a Becky, um, you are not to blame. And in praise of the grocery store, the grocery list, okay? A cheating spouse is not in the grocery list, okay? Manifest what you do want. It can happen with your spouse, it can happen with someone else. Okay? If this is Uranus, let's say you are the younger spouse, and your spouse had Uranus opposition. So you know that people with Uranus opposition, they want their sports car, and they are very susceptible to try to cheat. It's not, and again, it's because there's something they may meet that reignites a certain fire. Um, and here, the sexual whatnot is more a side effect. Okay, having an affair is a side effect of the real thing. That the real thing is that they are um, being called. Okay, the Uranus calls them out. Uranus calls them out for a reason. What Uranus calls them out for is to get their fucking needs met, get their fucking heart's desire manifested. And that has nothing to do with sex. Venus is also about creativity. It's not just Venus is also about being creative. Venus is also about painting. Venus is also about singing, about speaking up about something. Venus is also about cars, right? People get this crazy sport cars. Venus is about connecting in a different way. Venus is about material possessions. Okay, maybe somebody didn't have material possessions, now they want to have material possessions. They were saving all their lives, and now they're like, oh, fuck it, I'm saving for my kids, I'm saving for my this, I'm saving for my grandchildren. I want that freaking sport car. Flashy, big, mine. Okay, and that's something understandable. It's not a gender thing. Don't think that this is a gender thing alone. And so if you are the younger spouse, understand. Your Uranus opposition is on its way. Don't commit to what you can't commit. Okay, I'm under 40 something, I'm before my Uranus opposition. I cannot account to many things. Okay, I don't know. I haven't been through that. And it does in conjunct both my luminaries, one of which is in the fifth house. One in the third, the sun, and then the moon in the fifth house. Okay, I have to take it into account. I can't take a monogamous vow and not consider that there is also Uranus there. I can't say it. I won't do that to someone I love or anyone. So if your spouse is a bit older and they had a Uranus opposition, and you're like we've patched up, you will have a Uranus opposition as well. And this is also if you are the spouse that cheated and you have a younger spouse, then you need to understand your younger spouse is not revenging on you when they are having a Uranus opposition. They're just having the similar transit, different because it touches their chart differently. They're just having a similar transit that you had a couple of years ago. They're not vengeful. It's not like, oh, but we patched up and it's Uranus transits. Somebody please get this message out to the world. Somebody please get this message out to the world, because this message is so important. Because sometimes, you can patch, or you try to patch your relationship up after something like that happened. You think, okay, we're good, we're fine, maybe you have a baby, maybe this, maybe that, or a creative project together. And then the other spouse gets the Uranus transit or Uranus opposition when they reach their 40s. And you say, but surely they can buy a sport car, they don't have to cheat. I say, but darling, Uranus is Kundalini rise. It doesn't ask you with who. That's why when a lot of people, when they talk about the twin flame, this is my twin flame, that sometimes it's, and this is the wisdom of, okay, the Pluto and Neptune is the wisdom of truth in aspect astrology. And also the cheating relating to Uranus is also truth in aspect astrology, which I totally, like I keep reiterating, go watch her channel, she's amazing. And eventually, the Uranus, a lot of people, when people would come to me, we're doing composite readings. Also for people who don't have exact birth time, because in the composite you can still see a lot, even if it's not the ascendant. And people would come to me and they would say, oh, this is my twin flame. Yeah, there would be Neptunian things, there would be Plutonian things, and there would be Uranian things. Uranus is also, it's not as romantic as Neptune, because it's more about action, excitement. But it's very spiritual. And Uranus can make you feel like you met your twin flame. Because you understand these attractions that come in the middle of life. This is Truth in Aspect Astrology. Watch her video on non-monogamy, cheating, and Uranus. That she's like, she explains it the best. And so you can meet a person. Although a lot of wisdom is Uranus can also give you long-term relationships as well. And this is something that was new to me because it's an outer planet. It's not a quick planet. And therefore, if it's Uranus related, if it is an affair, it's not, I'm sorry, this is not a fling. Okay? I wish I could tell you you're just dealing with a Becky. You are not dealing with a Becky. And if you haven't had your Uranus return, if you are the spouse that got cheated on, then you're up next to deal with that Uranus. It's going to manifest differently for you, but I cannot promise to you that it won't be a sexual affair. If you are, single like me, I'm 38, yeah, but if you meet the love of your life at your Uranus opposition, this can also happen, and yes, it can absolutely be marriage. But if you are, and it can also be not marriage, and you think about this person, and I can't grant you that you will always think about them with a smile and so on. Hey, my psychologist was violent, eventually. Yeah. But there's a good reason something happened. And if that's a Uranus thing, then the best is to focus. Anyway, the best is to focus. What are my needs? And you say, oh, I'm meeting my needs with this person, but this person is, don't but. This is where I go, Abraham Hicks, okay? And you tell me, Shirley, but they said about rape. I know what they said. I'm not saying they said everything that comes out of their mouth is gold. Okay? The principle, the essence. Okay? The essence. How do you want to feel in a relationship? Do you want to feel at ease? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel desired? Do you want to feel provided for emotionally? Do you want to feel safe? Do you want to feel all of that? Okay? How do I want to feel in a relationship? Anything that's not that is contrast. Go back. Back to your desire. Back to your grocery list. I want to feel like this. I want to feel like this. I want to have this and that experiences. I want to feel safe. I want to be this. I want to be that. Okay, when I was in between two homes, when I was in between two houses, and it was a Mars perfected year with Mercury in Aries, in my Mars. And my Mars is in the 9th house, so I also traveled, been to shelters, yes, but yeah, okay. And I'm still grateful for having traveled. So what I would do every time they would threaten to close the shelter, here I would channel. I would be taken to the shops where you have things for your house, like the type of tiles that you want, the type of doors that you want, and I would build the house. Okay, I would say I want this, I want that, and I would do it in my mind. I would design the house. Every time they said the shelter is maybe the shelter is closing today. This is what I did. Okay. This is what I did. Somebody mistreated you. Okay. It's contrast. Don't want that. You're not to blame. You're not to blame. This is contrast. What you do, focus on what I do want. focus on what I do want. Do I want a cheating husband, cheating wife? No. Contrast. Okay, what do I want? I want a relationship that meets my needs, that meets my desires, that meets my passion, that uplifts me, that we support each other, and so on and so forth. This is what I do want. Okay? Go back in, back in, back in, back in. Your life is manifesting inside of you. Um, and yes, I don't say don't meet your feelings. Absolutely do meet your feelings. Absolutely do meet your feelings. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to. Everything you feel is okay. Everything you feel, everything you experience, everything is okay. Um, but the antidote eventually is what do I want? Okay. They did something that's not what I want. It's contrast. First of all, to me, before I even talk to anybody, what do I want? What do I want? And then it can happen with them, it can happen with another person. And that's okay. This is why we need equity for women, for men, for queer people. We need them to have lands. We need them to have wealth. We need them to be able to say, okay, I appreciate this experience that I've had with you. Right now, I'm being called either to take space to me or to meet these desires with another person. That's okay. And you know what? We need people to have international transportation that is individual. Because so many couples have their children. Okay, they have one person is from this country, one from that country, and then they have their children. Okay. We need to be able to fly these children and to have them to grow with both parents when it's healthy for them. You know, it's a good parenting. We need that. That is not a privilege. This is not luxus. It's basic human needs. Okay, what is the spouse? It's Jupiter. Who is Jupiter? It's the traveler. What does Venus do? It's connecting people. What does Venus also rule? Cars. It's not for nothing. And so that the planets that rule children, that rule relationship, that rule marriage, they're also ruling transportation. Okay? Because we need to travel. And it's absolutely a must that being able to make good choices in life is going to be, here is sad speaking, it's going to be easily available for the entire humanity. It's absolutely a must. The people can have their own wealth, separated wealth. Okay, in Islam, the laws of Islam is the wife has her own land, has her own bank account. The husband cannot ask a question about this. Why? How is she supposed to be safe? How is she supposed to be alluring? How is she supposed to be fun to be with if she's not safe? How? Okay, for a man as well. A man, he is not Islam, but a man also, they need their own wealth. And it's not that you are to blame if you don't have that. It's that should be a given. There is enough land. There is enough air. There are enough technologies. There are enough sustainable aircraft. Okay, it's not carbon emission. There are enough sustainable aircraft. There's enough technology. There's enough wealth. There's enough food. Did you know that the Middle East to Saudi Arabia is becoming more green? I went to the Dead Sea. The mountains are beginning to be covered by greenery. In the 20s, there was vegetation so high that you couldn't see the top of the camel. In here where I live. Did you know that? Eh? There's enough life, there's enough greenery. If some place goes dry, another place develops life. We don't even need to engineer the economy all that much as we think we do. Those things are essential because at the end of the day, what is Venus? Venus ruling balance in Libra, ruling Taurus, essential pleasure. Okay, she needs to have balance to be sensual. It's true you have your Venuses in different places and so on and so forth, but it's a lot more easy if you know that you can make decisions over your body, whether it is the timing that you have children. And so sometimes it's like you say, oh, it's a happy accident. So many children in this world were happy accidents, and they had a great life and were loved by their parents. That doesn't dictate anything. But even if a happy accident, okay, then the wealth, and the wealth is just, it's land, it's so, it's, but also support acceptance from humanity, acceptance of human connections. Okay, if we treat each other as Beckies because we had the Uranus transit, we're not going to go anywhere. Our children are not going to go anywhere. Right? Both men, women, queer people. And this is, it takes a tribe to raise a child, it's true, but we also don't want, you know, we also want that that tribe will be open to experiences, will be accepting of, you know, the people within the tribe. And this is not a privilege. It's Pflicht. Okay, it's a must. It's a non-negotiable. You get people, I hear people that have, I saw this couple that they have relationship advice, and they say we never ever bring up divorce. Never, not even as a joke. Okay, so if I can, you know, translate that to society, okay? Understanding that accepting the members, that if the various members of society and having everybody have their wealth, it's Pflicht. Pflicht. There's no place for something like that. That's not that, not even as a joke. And I'm speaking as a person who's crafted in satire. We just lost two authors. So last week was Meir Shalev, unfortunately, was also, if I'm not mistaken, a Fender, as many of the generation. And just today, Jonathan Geffen, which is also a famous writer, also of the Pluto-Leo generation, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how to delineate these deaths, because Mercury is with Rahu, and there's nothing that specifically says, you know, authors. They weren't doing things. Venusian. Jonathan Geffen was the first author to expose that the 60s, 70s hippies, a lot of them were sexual offenders. I don't know about him, but he definitely did expose that. And not only was he very, very, very talented, and you know, maybe his son, Aviv Geffen, is a musician, but also that he managed to speak out, and he was the voice that maybe it is with Aries, you know, he was the voice that we didn't have. He was with the branch, he was with the people who knew everybody. Yeah, he was speaking up. He was speaking up about things that nobody spoke up about. I think he was Pisces sun, so perhaps it's the Saturn in Pisces. Like I say, I'm ascendant Pisces according to some, as an astrologer rectified my ascendant. So, last time it happened, I nearly died, but I hope to withstand. But yeah, you know, it's not nice, not for me and not for my parents, to see many writers leaving The planet, the eclipse is, I don't know if sidereally it is in Aries or in Pisces, because I'm thinking always about Trifon. If you watch Lada's channel with Trifon. So he is the broadcaster, and when there are eclipses, so with Keto, and he would say, oh, we can have these type of people dying, these type of people dying, these type of people dying. And I know, Piscean people are also people of the pen as well, can also be people of the pen. Although it's more Mercury, but Piscean is also a certain voice, that a certain teaching that comes from other worlds. So it's not nice to see these people leave us. Definitely not as a person of the pen. I've defined myself as a writer for many, 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 many years. So yeah. Um, anyway, I hope that this was useful. This is a very intricate topic, okay? As a person who did not deal with that from the perspective of either the cheating spouse or the spouse, um, I all I can say is I know that I don't know, and not oppressing others outside a relationship is the key. Not oppressing, I mean in your mind, um, is eventually the key. And to be able to take up space, to take up space is so important. To concentrate in it is so important. Um, and I said on Twitter days before the eclipse, I had a long-term friend, like for 10 years. We're not a couple, but we're very good friends. Lived together for 5 years and so on and so forth, shared an apartment. And a lot of people would treat us as a couple, which was sometimes annoying, sometimes, you see that's people. A couple of things. First of all, in terms of the law, it's a good thing that we are not living together, because otherwise there is known in public, which means that people are entitled to rights just as couples and obligations just as couples almost, simply because they share an apartment. So we're not a couple. We're not known in publics. So that was the good for both that happened. Um, and there were a lot of people that were trying to come in between. A lot of people that were trying to come in between. We were friends, but we were doing, we were rebels. We were doing a lot of stuff. Um, Eventually, the reason that we parted was not those people from the outside. Okay, I began to channel. He told me that he's afraid that I will usurp him, because even though he was a secular person, he grew up in some religious education, and there was always a fear of the woman being more connected spiritually, so that she will overpower, although he was channeling. Yeah, okay. Like, I don't understand why would I, but it's okay. I'm just human. Um, and unfortunately, he did something not good with energies, and then I had to leave. But I see it was his Saturn return, my Saturn maturation, so I was the older person. As an older person, you think, you have to be the old adult, um, and understand that even though, then wish all the best and for things to be healthy. But the thing is that what tear us apart was not something from the outside, but patterns that were inside that were not healthy. That alone, so many people try to come between. So many people try to come between. There were also people who were supporters. But there are so many times that people try to separate us for political reasons, for these reasons, for that reasons. Okay? Um, so many times. But eventually, okay, the reason that eventually we parted as friends, that was something that didn't have to do with all these people from the outside. And this is something to remember. Um, if somebody can tear, if somebody can tear your relationship from the outside, it means that either you or your partner is like, there's something here that Um, but mostly mature people, yes, outside circumstances can matter, but it's more like outside circumstances where I don't want to be known in public with a friend, nor would he. Um, um, for people who are couples, then if you get married, are the laws of the country supportive of healthy marriage, financially, emotionally? Okay, divorce laws as well. Divorce laws are important. It's just the ability to say, okay, either I need space or goodbye. It's so important. Those can be outside circumstances. Okay, if you talk about things like my psychologist, okay, the perception that people have on non-dual experiences is important. Okay, to be in a community of people and to advocate for people. I've never seen a person who had non-dual experiences from the range. It can be astral travel, it can be astral sex, it can be what people call a psychic attack, it can be what people call psychosis. I've never seen a person who had these experiences. I'm not talking about willingly consensual astral sex that you worked for or that somehow happened with your partner. It's just a happy mistake, a happy accident, so to say. I'm talking about, those things that you set boundaries to. I've never seen that happen to people without them first being a victim of some violent case, a violent or abusive treatment. And again, this can be the family, it can be like second generation, third generation trauma. It doesn't mean that the person who was offender was a bad person or intended to harm you, but you can still be harmed. Um, and um, and that usually is how it goes about. So imagine what, and it's like violence and so on and so forth. And then they treat the person who is the victim instead of the other person. But in any case, not understanding that non-dual experiences are of reality. And then you set the boundary. You say, okay, nobody is allowed to speak to that way to me, whether in spirit or in person. Yes and no. Okay? You want to tell me something? Okay. Maybe some things I'm not ready to hear. I need my time. Okay. Maybe some things I am ready to hear. When you need your time, when you're able to speak to me and tell me something that you have to say, genuinely send me something that you have to say, with the willingness that I may be ready, maybe I hear what you say and that I'm not really ready to accept this, then we can have a conversation. Until then, when I left my psychologist, I said simply, okay, and I was really the victim there, right? But I said, listen, I cannot speak to you right now. I don't feel I'm in a position where I can listen to you. That's how I left. Okay? But I was kind. I did bless an enemy, and boy, did that yield good results. Um, and I talked about blessing an enemy. It's not, it's not a must. Okay, it's like you can do it if it's okay for you. No, but forgiveness, bless an enemy. It's not things that are a must, and they are sometimes the side effect of something. Rather, that I had my grocery list, that I had my manifestation. I said, okay, this person treating me like that is contrast. Want the opposite. Want something good. Okay, good treatment, honoring me, and so on and so forth. Focusing, 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 focusing. Okay, then I could do bless an enemy. Then I could do bless an enemy because it was centered. And I knew that I'm not to blame for the way he behaves. So, this is my Eclipse wisdom. It's really getting close now. Really getting close now. The moon is in 27 degrees, just 2 degrees away from the eclipse. So I'm going to publish it right as that. I hope this is useful for you. If you feel like this is too much for you, like I said, take time. Now it's the end of the video. But it's on my channel. You're not forced to see it. Whoever you are that is meeting this data, and whoever you are that you find this useful, um, then I hope this helps. And I don't know, I have this eclipse on all of my relationship associated things. grants a new beginning on the topic of relationship, owning an estate, owning land, and so on and so forth. Um, with this squaring of Pluto. Okay, so there's this holding attention, of finding attention. Understand that Pluto is the exposer of things, it's the exposer of secrets, it's the composer of secrets. And that's what it does. This is an outer planet interference, and this is what is healthy to release from the system. So now you've heard juicy details. Oh, I have viewers in this time. So what is time with you? What's the time for you? But you can't. Because for me it's 3:19. I understand it's before eclipse, so I woke up. I said I will record. Anyway, I'm hoping this was useful to you. Whoever needs to hear that. And for every person it will resonate on a different level. There are so many aspects that you can meet, but even not even as non-romantic relationships, okay, friendships or relationships even with your bosses. You can think about if that's job, if you got fired from this job, maybe it means that you need to do something better. Okay, uh, and then that's probably what's it. That's what it is. I had a relative that lost a job that they really liked, and then it was time for them to take some time to live, to vacate, and to contribute in something uh, that they're good at. Maybe something else is calling for them now. Um, so this is eclipse, pre-eclipse wisdom. I don't know what's going to be like on the eclipse, on the ecliptic, so to speak. And I'm thankful that you've joined me today to listen. I know that what I said, there is not a single person on earth that is not triggered by these topics. So I'm blessing you with finding, wealth, well-being, healthy relationships, family, if you want a family, the joy, joie de vivre, and everything that you desire, because we're all um, meant to live good. So, bye bye.